Hey there everybody, I got another recipe for you guys. Today we're going to be making fish tacos. A little fun fact about fish tacos, they were first popularized in the US at least by these two college students that went down to Mexico for spring break and got some fish tacos from a food stall down there, and they were blown away. They really liked them and they figured, hey, why don't we make our own stand in the US? And so when they came back, they started a store in San Diego by the bay, and the store was called Rubio's, and they sell mostly seafood related Mexican food, and it's pretty tasty. I've been to the original store actually, and it was a good time. So with that little fun fact out of the way, let's get into what you need to make these fish tacos. First, we got the fish, and pretty much any white fish will do. Then we're going to be making a slaw for this recipe, and you really only need green cabbage and red onion for that, plus some mayo and vinegar. Then we got some tomato, salt and pepper, and our tortillas. And that's pretty much it. You could add a few different things to this recipe, and I'll talk about them later, but this is all that I'm going to be using to make my fish tacos. So with all that said, let's get to cooking.
Okay, last thing before we get to cooking, I just wanted to apologize for my voice. I'm sorry if I sound a little nasally in this video, but I am at the tail end of a cold, so please bear with me. I'm hoping to not sound anything like this by the time the next video comes out, and I'm pretty sure I can get over this soon. The first thing we're going to be doing is making our slaw, because believe it or not, it is the hardest part of this recipe. To start off, we're going to deal with our cabbage. What you're going to want to do is get rid of the leaves on the outside of your head of cabbage that look a little wilted or just brown, or they are just floppy. None of the cabbages at the store when I went to looked particularly good, so I had to peel off a bunch of leaves. I hope you don't have to peel off as many as me. But you want your slaw to be crunchy, and those damaged leaves are not so crunchy, so peel them off. After that, cut your cabbage in half and put away one of the halves because we are only going to use half. Then cut the core of your cabbage out and cut the half into half. Then what you're going to want to do is cut your cabbage as thin as you can. Or maybe if you're really good at chopping, then not so much as thin as you can. Just chop them pretty thin, maybe about 1/4 of an inch wide. Then after that, I like to run my knife through a couple more times so that these strands are not too long. And after that, repeat with the other 1/4 of your cabbage. After that, you can just toss it into a big bowl, and we can get moving on to our onion. For the onion, again, we are only going to use half of it, so cut it in half, put away one half, and peel the other. Then we're going to want a dice somewhere between a fine and a medium dice. And the way I like to chop my onions is something I learned from J. Kenji Lopez Alt. And what you do is you cut at a flatter angle towards the outside of the onion and work your way to cutting straight down in the middle of the onion. And then you just get flatter on the other side until you've cut all the way across your onion. Then you just dice like normal. And I chop my onions like this because you don't have to make the chops parallel to your cutting board or something like this, which is how I managed to cut my finger the last time. And don't worry, I don't chop my fingers very often. I think this was about a year ago, and now this is the only way I cut my onions. When you have your onions chopped, throw it in with your cabbage in your bowl and break out your mayo and vinegar. I added about 2 tablespoons of both mayo and vinegar, along with a little bit of salt and pepper, and this results in a very lightly dressed slaw, which is how I like it. If you like a little bit more heavier dressed slaw, then add a tablespoon more if you want. But this is just my preference, it might not be yours, so do what you want. When you got everything in, just mix it all up and your slaw is done. Next, we're going to move on to our fish. A lot of fish tacos you'll see are deep fried fish, but I like to do pan fried fish, partly because I like it that way and mostly because I don't like deep frying because it's dangerous, it's messy, and I hate getting rid of the oil afterwards. So just salt and pepper your fish and it's ready to cook. When you're done seasoning, throw your fish into a pan with enough oil to cover the bottom over high heat where the oil is preheated until it's smoking hot. And if you're cooking on stainless steel like I was, be patient with your fish. The first batch I made, I was a little overzealous and flipped the fish before it was ready, but there is a very easy way to know when your fish is ready to flip. When you can nudge your fillet and it moves freely without much effort, your fish is ready to flip. But if you are cooking on non-stick and not stainless, then just look for color and you should be good. And look at the difference between flipping it early and actually being patient. It really does make a big difference. After your fish comes out of the pan, just warm up some tortillas and it's time to assemble. I used the fish and the slaw, of course, and I also added some chopped tomato, some avocado, cilantro, lime salsa, and that's it. Although on the second one that I made, but I didn't record, I also added some sour cream to it and it was super tasty. Other toppings to consider are some Mexican cheeses like queso blanco or cotija. You could use some pico over the salsa and tomatoes that I added. Also, you could use fresh cilantro, fresh lime, and fresh avocado instead of the salsa I used. Or you can use just about anything else you think will be good. Remember, you're cooking for you and not for me, so my preferences might not be the same as yours. Just add what you think will be tasty. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stick around for the recipe and the cost breakdown. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.